Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning. This is my son Ben. And today we have a tasting of a German distillery, St. Kilian. And in addition to that, we have your Whisky Vision TV Cask as the first whiskey after 3 years.
Yes. So the Whisky Vision TV project is kind of the topic today. And yeah, it is a project from me that I wanted to have a look at the coloring of whiskey. How does whiskey get their coloring? You had that big scientific thing with the chill filtration of whiskey, and I wanted to take a look at the coloring, while you did it with a random sample of people and with a lot of statistics. I wanted to do it experimental and on hands. And so what I did was I got myself a cask. So I worked together with a distillery called St. Kilian. They produce these whiskeys here. And I asked them, told them about the project, and they were so, yeah, okay, we are all in. And I went to their distillery, did a distillery video. So there is a distillery video tour of St. Kilian, and I filled the cask there. And I got the cask beforehand, and the cask has a very special look. So what I did was I had the cask with glass at the bottom and the top. So it's acrylic glass, and there you see the cask. And it has a glass bottom and a glass ceiling, so you can actually look through the cask. This is actually a filled cask, so there is whiskey or raw whiskey inside. And this is here where I filled whiskey up at the filling station at the distillery.
No beard, no hair.
Yeah, it looks kind of different to now, what I have now. So it was filled on the 25th of September 2017. And yeah, that was more than 3 years ago. So is the whiskey now older than 3 years? No, it's actually just 3 years what I have here in the bottle. And yeah, I filled it with 69% ABV, and it was non-peated spirit. And I really love that cask. This is my first cask, and I really love it. And what you see at the very front here in the picture is a little color card. And I really wanted to have that color card on there because I wanted to, as I said, focus on the coloring of the whiskey. So I drove the cask home and put it in a box that is really dark, and put an artificial light behind that and 2 cameras in front that took pictures regularly. So they took a picture every second and stored it on our server, and we had tons of pictures, and then we made a time lapse out of it, and this makes a video, so you can see the maturing of the whiskey for a certain period of time, for a really long time, and you see how the whiskey becomes darker. And you also see that once my light fails, and also that the spirit level, or the level of the whiskey inside the cask is lowering, and also that the optics of the whiskey is changing.
The lowering of the level, that's not due, or not completely due to evaporation, but it's because we took samples every now and then.
You can see that the jumps are when we're taking samples, but the expansion is due to the soaking of the cask. So in the first year, you don't have much evaporation, but a lot of soaking into the cask. That's why you lose so much to the cask in the first year. What is very interesting is that it's not homogeneous. So when you see at the start, everything is bright, and then you see that the bottom is coloring faster than the top. So you see there's a little haziness at the bottom. You see clouds going through. There are more videos about the Whiskey Vision TV. If you Google Whiskey Vision TV on YouTube, you see more of these videos, and you see more time lapses. Some of them are slower. Some of them are just a certain period of time at the beginning when we didn't have more frames. And you see that the whiskey inside the cask is actually exchanging slower than we thought. So this is one thing that we learned. And also I learned that if you have a show cask, don't move the show cask and don't bang in the bung. You will find out later why you shouldn't hammer a show cask. Yeah. And this is a video about, I think, 3/4 of a year or a bit longer. And now we have a sample of the whiskey after 3 years. So this is now a whiskey. Well, can't read my writing, but you can see that this is a whiskey now. And we already had a tasting
multiple times.
The first times you said, oh, it's just new make, let's wait. And after 2 years you said, okay, there's oak in it. So I have the tasting notes that we both had last time. And it was
2 years.
After 2 years, on the 19th of September 2019, it was alcoholic, it was young, it had oak, it had pear, it's creamy and fruity. So that was what we had 3 years ago. 1 year ago, after 2 years of maturation.
This is still hefty alcoholic, so it burns my nose. And we got new spindles and got a calibrated thermometer, and so we were able to calculate the ABV, and we found out it's 70.3. So it increased a little bit. Probably it was in summer too hot up here where the cask lay. Yeah. So this is hefty. This is too much.
So it's different to last time. What I remember, it has more oak. It has more of a vanilla touch to it. But the thing is, yes, it does have still an alcoholic note, a strong alcoholic note to it. Yeah, maybe it's due to the 70%. Let's dilute it down and see if we have a.
The pear is still here.
Whiskey at hand.
There is some vanilla, there's some caramel, not too much, and there's some oak in it already. So this is really a whiskey, but it's quite, say, one-dimensional. You really feel the distillery character with the pears in it, the young pears. You smell a little bit of the oak cask. And the first substances came out from the staves into the whiskey. Yeah, still too strong.
Yeah, I did add enough water, I think. I'm now at 48 probably, or something like that, or 50. And it's still fresh and young. It has a nice touch to it. It now has a vanilla bourbon cask style whiskey flavor to it. It's a virgin cask, so it didn't have anything before it in that cask, because I wanted to have the effect of coloring really really fast. So I took a strong toast, and it's still very sharp.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have taken a charred cask as well.
So it tastes better than it smells. Yeah. Sweetness in it. Already a little bit of oak. Not bitter, of course. What's that? Starting caramel, starting vanilla. Yeah.
I think the flavor is pretty good. So it does have nice flavors with a little bit of oak, a lot of bourbon style characters, a little bit of a nutty character going on as well, but it has still a lot of sharp edges. So if someone would give that to me, I'd say, dude, that's a really young whiskey. And yeah, it is. It's still a lot under-matured. So I wouldn't recommend that to a fan. So we sent that out to our German customers as, hey, want to try it? And I wouldn't send that out in a big bottle and say, yeah, nice to be savored. No, that's just not right. It's still, it needs to mature more.
Yeah, how do you call that? It's has a lot of potential.
I still do think that it has potential.
Yeah.
I didn't choose the cask for the flavor, so the cask is pretty much situated on color because it's Whisky Vision TV for the coloring, and it did that effect. Now we have a nice cask to try over the years, so it gives us one video per year. Yeah. So. But let's go over to the St. Kilian, where we got the spirit from this distillery. No, wait. There's that one topic. I wanted to jump that topic. Yeah. So I took the sample on the 16th of December, 2020, and I filled the cask in, I think it was September or something, or October. And so it is 3 years and 81 days. Yes, the spirit is that old, but it has not been matured for that time, because I have to subtract 81 days because the spirit wasn't always in a cask, because I had a crack. It turns out if you take a sample and then you hammer the bung, then it gives shock waves to the glass, and at some point the glass will shatter. And so I had a crack, and I found out the crack pretty soon because it was a little bit smelly in here, and I did videos daily. So I smelled the whiskey pretty fast, and we reacted immediately, went to the farmer's supply market and got ourselves pumping equipment and storing equipment for, for liquids, for spirits, for wine or something like that. And we pumped the casks empty into storage facilities of storage tanks that we bought there to save the spirit. And yeah, this was done pretty quickly, so I didn't lose much of the alcohol. I counted the whiskey, and I think I still had 87 liters left, so quite a lot. And yeah, we sent the cask in for repairs, and we then requested for the glass to be removed and to be replaced with wood. This is how the cask is now stored. I deconstructed the filming equipment around it because I can't film it anymore. I've done the filming, I have the footage of the maturation, and now we only go for how the cask develops over the years. It's not very scientific anymore, but it's a nice gig every year to try the cask, how the cask develops. Yeah, and now let's go to the distillery. The distillery of St. Kilian is located in Unterfranken, Lower Franconia. And
it's part of Bavaria. We conquered them.
Yeah, that's a really, really old story. And investment banker called Andreas Tümmler was coming home to his hometown where he grew up, and then he saw that factory. It was a bit disappointed that this old textile factory didn't work anymore, and the town was a bit of in a bad shape. So he joked around with a bottle of whiskey with his friend and said, "Hey, we should open a distillery in there, invest some money and open a distillery." And that friend was like, "Yeah, sure, I do know the guy who builds the distillery equipment. I can give him a phone call and order the distills right away." And they were drinking a bottle of whiskey, so Andreas Tümmler thought, yeah, it's just a joke. And then a few months later, he got an invoice of, yeah, you have to pay up front a certain amount for the order of the new stills for your new distillery. It was like, what, how is that happening? And apparently he went with it and he invested into the business, bought the old textile factory and opened the distillery of St. Kilian. And now we have these nice spirits. The distillery has a production capacity of 200,000 liters a year, and they can even increase it to 800,000 liters a year. So it's quite a remarkably big distillery for Germany. Germany doesn't have these big whiskey distilleries. And we're now trying the 6.
So they have different, or with the years after they came up with the first whiskey, they numbered their expressions, and now we're up to 8, I think. And today we're tasting the 4 and the 6th, and we begin with the 6th because it's unpeated, and the 4 is heavily peated. So I do it myself. There's a lot of whiskey pouring in. So this is 47.5. These wonderful bottles, pot still shaped, contain only 0.5 liters whiskey, and they are priced around 40. But I think they are not already available outside Germany, because this is my understanding 1 or 1.5 years ago when I visited the distillery last time. So probably they started shipping abroad, but I'm not quite sure about that. But they are producing a lot of whiskeys. The warehouses fill up. I think they have additional warehouses now. So there will be so much whiskey that they will sell it to everywhere. And
So it's a whiskey. I've already shown you the bottle. It's 47.5% ABV, and it's a mixture of different whiskeys. So it's an ex-bourbon cask. 25% of the whiskey is ex-bourbon cask. Then we have 30% ex-Spätburgunder. Do you know what that is in English? Burgundy. Late Burgundy, directly translated. Yeah, it's some kind of...
It's a rosé Burgundy.
Rosé Burgundy from Germany, I think.
Yeah.
And the other
not
one...
far away. It's just a couple of miles away from the distillery.
Mm-hmm. And it's the last one is ex-rye. And they even say which distillery they got from. The bourbon is from the Old Forester distillery, and the rye is from early times. So... it's a nice mixture.
So it's 47.5. We're able to taste that neat.
So the distillery is really trying to aim at the Scottish way of making whiskey.
So this one has a lot more fruits than our young cask. Even when this whiskey shows a vintage of 2016, 2017, so exactly counted, it's 3 years old as our whiskey is. But these additional casks, they bring a lot of additional complexity to the whiskey, a lot of additional aromas. Yeah, mm-hmm. So the fruitiness of the wine is already in.
Yeah, it's much better than our whiskey. No, it's seriously it's the other whiskey is an experimental whiskey for just looking at the coloring. This here is a whiskey where you see that a master blender has thought about the flavors that are in this whiskey. So it's a round whiskey where you have accents on different flavors. The Burgundy come through with nice fruits, and there's a little bit of a hint of vanilla in there, and a little bit of hint of a bourbon style. So it's nice and round and has that velvet touch to it.
I find this is the typical way how you manufacture a relatively young whiskey. You add intense casks to them so that you have additional flavors in it, or you go with a heavily peated one. Going with it just with a normal cask, no ex-bourbon cask, but a virgin cask, that's quite unusual. So it's typical that our young whiskey isn't on that level that this one is. So, yeah. So how old is the distillery? Well, they started production in 2015.
15, 16, somewhere around then. I think production 15 was not very high back then. So there are not many whiskeys from 15, but this year is a 16 whiskey, distilled in 16. So the first year where they really produced whiskey.
Yeah.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. A lot more of intensity, a lot more of complexity from the rye whiskey. There's some spiciness left in it. The Burgundy wine gives fruitiness, a little grapey notes in it. Wonderfully made for a relatively young whiskey, and this is excellently done.
I love it. It's very round, very creamy, with a little bit of a cinnamon spicy touch to it, and a lot of fruits, and it's very complex for a 4-year-old. So they've done it really well, and it's rare to have a really good German whiskey. So the German whiskey makers usually are not said to be that good. Good. So this was the number 6. So what they did is they brought out their spirit. They sold their white dog. So they brought out the white dog, and they brought out the turf dog, their peaty whiskey, and then they followed up with some spirits that have been matured. And when they came out with their first whiskey, it was called the 1, and now they're numbering them through. And this year is now the 6, and the 6 is now definitely a one that I say that is worth trying. It's definitely a good whiskey, but I'm really excited about how they will continue, if they can bring out that good stuff in a good continuous way, or if they even improve on that. And to give you a little bit of an idea how they do that, let's switch to the distillery back. And we start off with the malt silos. They live in Lower Franconia, and Franconia is known for their beer. And so they have a really, really good supply of malted barley, because all the beer is made from malted barley. And the thing is, they wanted to do also peaty whiskey, and they were not sure if the smoky whiskey they got from Franconia, there is smoky beer in Franconia, if that is the right style for the whiskey.
Typically, the smoke in that beer is from wooden chips,
Yeah.
not from peat. So it's a different peat.
So it's a different peat. So they really wanted to go with a classic peated smoky whiskey, not a wooden smoky whiskey. So what they did is they actually phoned up the Scottish and asked them if it's possible to order that malt, and they said, yeah, our trucks drive anywhere you want. Just a matter of a bit of money, so you have to pay a bit more per the truckload, but they during the production time of their turf dog, there is regular trucks coming in from Scotland with Scottish drivers, and they're getting out on the other side of the truck because they are right-hand drive trucks, and they drive from Scotland to where is it? Forgot it. In Lower Franconia. Rudenau, yeah, to Rudenau, and yeah, then they unload and drive back. So yeah, that is then the malt storage, and that goes then into the mash tun. And they have a beautiful mash tun with a copper lid and
looks very classic.
Wooden plating. It looks very classic, but it's actually a modern mash tun if you look inside. Yeah, inside we have stainless steel, and it's a lauter tun, and yeah, it just, you don't even get the old cast iron Victorian mash tuns anymore, and you don't want to, because they're just kept there for tradition in the Scottish distilleries.
Difficult to clean,
and it's not that good if you have the open cogs turning inside your mash tun. So one of these is much more suiting for a new distillery and really good. When you look at the washbacks, they are also modern, but they kept the washbacks in that one style. So you have the wooden washbacks. Can we have the picture? The wooden washbacks. So you have a modern suction system on top, and you have a cooling system that keeps it at 32 degrees centigrade, and the capacity is 10,800 liters. So they're really modern, big washbacks, but they're made of wood, and the wood does have a different insulating factor due to the temperature control. That's not the big factor here, but they have the factor of the bacteria that grows inside the wood, and that really has an effect on the flavors that grow inside the wash while it's fermenting.
A little bit ahead of schedule. The picture is one too far.
No, that's the washbacks.
Yeah, but the washbacks is after the tasting.
Oh. Oh, sorry. Now that's not why you didn't put it up front. Sorry. Okay, so let's go back to the washbag, the mash tun. I went ahead a bit too far. So yeah, let's stop with the mash tun and try the turf dog, and not the turf dog. The turf. What is it called?
It's called Turf Peak.
Turf Peak.
Old Forester. And this one is an exclusive bottle for us, for our company. So we have our logo on it, and it's distilled on November 23rd, 2016, and bottled on December 9th, 2020. So a little bit more than 3 years, and it's 68.1. Be careful. This is hefty stuff.
Yeah, so with, what was it, 50, how many ppm is it? 54. The 54 ppm is a really, the thing going on here.
It stinks.
It's a really smoky one. And 68% ABV is just, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. Drink it neat. Bit stronger than you are.
So it opens up. It's becoming better. Not that intense. It's not the smell, it's the burning in the eyes. So it's better now. And there's a lot of fruitiness coming through, as typical for St. Kilian, together with a wonderful mild smokiness in the moment. It's just ex-bourbon cask, matured peated whiskey. It's really nice. It's better from the maturation than ours is.
Yeah, the first one, the 6 was also better a lot. This one here this time it's very phenolic, a little bit of ash tone in there, a little bit of a bourbon style, and it's still really, really smoky. So yeah, it's a straightforward smoky whiskey. I don't know how to compare it to a Scotch one, because it's a little bit one-dimensional, but I do like it because it has a nice grip to it. Don't know how to describe that.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
I got it down just right to 46 to 48. If I compare it to the last one I had with 47.5. So this one now has real drinking strength, and the peatiness really clads my mouth. So there's the peatiness, it will stay there. So no way back to unpeated whiskey after this one. And you need quite a half an hour to reduce the taste of the smoke inside your mouth. Yeah, aftertaste not too long. But it's a clean, clear style going through.
It's nice. It got more nuance in the taste that it does have in the flavor. So in the taste, you do have a little bit of a sweetness going on, a lot of smoke going on, but it really has some different touches to it. So there's a little bit of a spiciness also going on, oak touches to it, even going in the aftertaste now, going a little bit into a bitter sweetness. I like it. And for some reason a little bit got the dirty glass, and it's strange because it's dirty from the outside.
Better than from the inside.
I can't blame that on anybody else because I'm responsible for cleaning the glasses. Yeah, someone said charcoal kiln. Yeah. So we've just talked about the mash tun, and let's now head on to the wash bags. The wash bags at St. Kilian are wooden wash bags. And the wash bags...
I think you might skip that.
Yeah, they're modern, and I've already told you about that. They are 10,800 liters of capacity, and the maturation in there is 62 hours. And after 48 hours, it's said to have reached the maximum in alcohol, so the alcoholic fermentation is through. And then there comes the lactobacterial fermentation, where different flavors and different substances are created. So not everything in the wash bags is fermentation, and that's also where the wood comes into play. It really plays into these lactobacteria fermentation, because the lactobacteria can live in the wood much better than in a stainless steel tank. After that, it goes into the pot stills, and here in Germany we do have a bit of a more regulatory system on the distillation. So the wash still on the right is still not regulated that heavily, so you can fill it up pretty neatly, and then after it is distilled through the wash still, it comes through the condensers, and they already have to be into the restricted area. And the spirit still is also the size of 6,000 liters of capacity, and that it has to be inside this glass chamber. And the spirit safe is on the outside and is heavily monitored when you take something out of the spirit safe, that it is actually monitored how much is going out there, so they can calculate the alcohol for that.
They count in 2 digits behind the...
Yeah, and 2 drops into your tasting glass.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit over the top, And I think over the time they will be a bit more relaxed, because I know in other distilling industries it's not that heavily regulated. If you have fruit schnapps that is big in Germany, or corn, that is not that heavily regulated. But for some reason this distillery had to do it. They will probably be a little bit more relaxed once they get into more contact with the paying the taxes for the alcohol. And that was already it with the second explanation of production, because I've already told so much in the first part. And we come to the last whiskey. We had our whiskey, which was just bourbon cask matured. Then we have juvenile, virgin cask. Then we have some wine cask influence. Then we have just bourbon cask with smoke. And the last one is a sherry cask influence with smoke.
And the sherry casks are two style. It's Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso sherry. So 51% of PX sherry and 49% of Oloroso sherry. And you see it's a decent amount darker than the others are. But I'm not quite sure if this is first fill sherry cask or not.
Mm-hmm.
They do not write it on the label. Yeah, definitely more sherry. And it's only 48% ABV. Those bottles typically cost around 40 because they are 0.5 liter bottles, and a lot is cask strength. So it's around 40 euros, dollars, pounds. But I think, as I said in the beginning, they're not delivering abroad. So I think you have to wait a little bit to get those wonderful bottles, which typically come in these boxes. You can see the wonderful shape of the pot still shaped bottles, and they are very well fixed in the inside so that they do not move. So it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Good package. So this is not as stinky as the other one was, because I think it's 48%. Does not have the potential of this extreme peatiness. And the sherry just kicks in and reduces the intensity of the smoke as well. Yeah. But the sherry is not overwhelming. It's not too big sherry. No.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice smoky bonfire smoke to it. It has sherry tones to it, and it's a little bit of a velvet touch to it. A little bit of a velvet to it, like an old dancing room with a chimney on the side that's still smoky, and a lot of velvet drapes and a lot of leathery touch to it. So it really smells vintage.
Yeah, tobacco, pipe, leather.
Yep.
Mm. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
I really had less with the dilution with the glass before.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is intense and mouth-watering, kicks in. Yeah, real cherry cask maturation. With the second sip, this one is much better.
Mm-hmm.
First round, I wasn't really satisfied with this one. But with the second sip, it really moves up the ladder. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really nice. But it really reflects the smell. So it really tastes vintage. You have a lot of oak in there. You have that sherry fruitiness, dried fruits going on, but a lot of spiciness, however, going on. I like it.
Hey, Sergei Kadalsky. rubles, 379 rubles. Thank you very much.
I like it. It's very round, very very friendly. I like it, and it really shows what you can do with the whiskey.
Yeah.
I have one last slide for you that gives you a little bit of a understanding how the future of St. Kilian will be. We told you that they have 200,000 liters of production right now, or at the time we visited last time, which was 1.5 years ago, and they are filling a lot of casks there. So they have a lot of cask variation at the St. Kilian distillery. And so they have the normal bourbon casks, they have wine casks, rum, Amarone casks, in sherry casks, as well as fresh virgin oak casks. And the special thing is you can actually buy casks at the distillery. You buy a cask, it lies there, it's your cask, and you can actually visit the distillery and then try your cask, I think once a year, so you can't just come every week and try your cask, like we did here with our cask, but at their distillery. And I'm not quite sure if you can have samples sent to you, but be careful, a cask is pretty expensive because there are so many liters in a cask, and you will get out, if you take a normal bourbon cask, you will get out with drinking strength about 300 bottles. Or if you have 0.5 liter bottles, then they will be even more of them. So either 450 or 400 bottles of these. So if you ever thought about owning your own cask, you can even buy smaller casks. I'm not sure if they still do smaller casks, but in the past they did 30 and 50 liter casks.
Yeah, and if you look at the ends of the cask, you can see the St. Kilian's writing on it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same as we have here on our cask, on our...
Yeah, I did an arrangement with the distillery. I asked them if they already filled some casks and if they already have some leftover casks. So they asked them if I can have a cask lid for my table here to have it flat out, and they said, yeah, we can do that. And they actually, I think they dried it for me, so it's dry, because if a wet cask dries, then it's got little bumps in it, and I experienced that with my last lid from the cask, and now it's a flat table, and I think I already have that for 2 years, and there's not a dent in it, so they've really delivered on that.
Yeah, very good.
So, you want to put it in a
sequence?
In the sequence, which one was the best?
So
I think I changed my sequence.
I will not count our cask.
I know where I will count it.
And
under the it has potential corner.
And I think the second one was the best. Then the third and last is the fourth.
For me, it's also, before I had 4, 2, 3, 1, and now I have 2, 4, 3, 1. So I think the non-peaty wine cask matured just in the second tasting was just a smidge better now, but it was pretty close. I did like the 4 and the 6.
So for me, the peat level is a little bit too much. So those both rank in the back, and this one is much better than our very young one. So this goes in first, and here I think our selected cask is more elegant, more straightforward. The other is a little bit too much on the sherry side, so I like it 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Should I give you a little surprise in the end?
Whoops. Yeah, what?
There's a little update I did with our studio. So I do have a lot of a lot of remote control now, and this is the new remote control. Can you hear that? Oh, it takes a little bit of time to come down.
So this whoosh, how was that? Is there sound?
No, this is just the beginning of it. It should come shortly. You can see a little green shining at the top already. Should come any second now. But it's better to do it than manual. I had to have the green screen for years now in manual mode. I had to climb up there, take it out, open it, roll it down, roll it up again, put it up, fix it there, and now we have it automatic. So we can now put in pictures in the back, and I don't have to climb all the way up and down. I can just go. It's a really nice, satisfactory feeling, because I know how much I did for. I mean, I did 400 videos with that green or 100 videos maybe with that green screen down, so I have to do it every time, and now I have the solution for that. But you shouldn't put that down. I didn't want to put it down beforehand because can you already smell it a little bit? Mm-hmm. It's still smelly from the paint. Yeah. You can't buy an automatic green screen on the internet in Germany.
Old country.
Because there's no market for it, so I had to make it out of a Beamer presentation electric thingy with my own paint. And yeah, the paint messed up the ends. Okay. So that was a little surprise in the end.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, Männerspielzeug. It's not a toy. It's really it's my working equipment.
We are engineers, mechanical engineers.
Yeah, but I do have a idea for the ends to program them. So yeah, but for everybody who likes these live tastings, there will be another live tasting next month. So we're going to do it monthly now, and maybe we take a little bit of a break in summer because we want to have a bit of a relaxing vacation time as well. The next one will be on the 19th of February at 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time. If you go to Whisky.com/live in the next days, you will see that video, and I think we've already opened the YouTube event for that, so maybe you have seen it in your subscription box. And yeah, to find out where it is in your time area, just click on the video and it will tell you what time it is in your time zone. Yeah. So do you have anything else? Probably we'll do a video next year about the Whiskey Vision TV cask. Maybe we'll do it in 2 years. Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.